Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to Back to Basics with Kendra. Thank you, Tina. Where we just hang out and we go over Art Impressions watercolor basics, and it's so much fun. So this week, for those of you who tuned in last week, you know what this week is gonna be. And we're gonna do the barn set. So we're gonna make this today. Isn't this cute? It's super simple, and it's the barn set. It's the old barn mini set, and this is number 4807. And as always, I will show you on the camera flip as well. Okay, so this one is so cute. I'm also using Foliage Set 1 4051, and I'm going to use this one and then the teeny tiny grass. And I'm also going to give you a really quick tutorial because I know some of you are already thinking about like starting your Christmas cards and all of that stuff. So we are also going to do the snowy barn. Okay, what do y'all think of that one? Georgia, did you say hi? I didn't see you. Hello! Hi, Georgia! Georgia's here. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so we're going to do the snowy barn, but we're going to do the... What do you guys want to do? Do you want to do the snowy barn first? Should we do the snow barn first and then the spring barn? What do you guys think? What do you think? First comment that says, Barbara said snowy barn. You love the snowy barn. Let's do the snowy barn first. Okay, so I am going to flip the camera around and we're gonna get going. All right, see you on the flip side. Okay, so just a moment while I get my phone and everything set up here. Okay. So, let me see. Okay. All right, you guys, I apologize. I can't see comments as well on this angle. So I can kind of see. So I'm going to try to answer as you go, but I can generally just see like one comment at a time. So I'll look up and then whatever comment I see, I'll try to answer. If it's a super important question and you're like, I have to know, just keep asking it until I get to your comment. Or somebody else in the group can answer because we have a lot of very experienced watercolorists at this point. And so those of you who have been doing this a while, if you could help me out and help me answer some questions, that would be so awesome. Okay, so we are going to start, and I am using... Here is the correct view of the old barn mini set, and this is 4807, the SKU. And it's got this really cute tree in here, which we're going to use, the barn, and then this beautiful old fence. And I love this set so much. And as always, the product sheets always come with an inspiring project on the front. Okay, and then I'm also using the Foliage Set 1 4051, and I'm going to use this foliage here and also this small grass. Now, as some of you noticed, we'll be doing the trees. Now, we have tutorials on these trees, remember? So I'm not going to go too much into why we're using certain leaves or why we're coloring, green at the top and brown at the bottom. You'll have to go watch those tutorials, and I'm happy to quickly kind of go over it as I show you this project. But there are, I think there's a series of 5 trees videos where we go in depth on trees. So if you're just joining, definitely go and check those out. Those are really, really fun tutorials, and I think they are very helpful or would be very helpful if you're not sure how to do trees. Okay, so I am going to grab my watercolor paper Okay, and this is the Canson watercolor paper. This is my favorite paper. I love this. I'm going to use the smooth side today. I have been using the smooth side a lot more often lately, so try both. There's not a right or a wrong way, a right or wrong side to use. Okay, so let's go ahead and get out our barn. Now, for the snowy project, we are going to leave the top off of the barn so that we can have the snow sort of look like it's coming over the top. Okay, hi Catherine, I'm just seeing your comment. For those of you just joining, I can't see the comments very well, so I'm just gonna look, and the first comment I see I'm gonna answer, and then, but I'm kind of struggling to see comments, okay? So, hi Sherry. Basically what we're gonna do with this one is leave off the top, and there will be a couple of stamp offs on here because we do want the image to be pretty light. Okay, hi Teresa. And what I'm going to do is leave that top off, but I'm first going to ink it in blue, stamp it off, and then I'll ink it in brown, stamp it off a couple more times, and then stamp it onto my project sheet because I want it to be really, really light. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that. But the biggest thing on here is you want to leave off that top, and also you want to leave off the second, I don't know if you can see this, but do you see there's a line here for the inner barn, and then there's a line on the outside of this barn where the roof hangs off? You're going to leave off that line too. If you get it on there, it's not a big deal. It's just that this one on top, you really want to leave uninked. That's the most important one to leave uninked. If you get some of this one, big deal, it's fine. But you want to get that internal line inked and not the external line. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I'm going to take number 565 blue, and I'm going to ink all of the lines apart from the ones I just showed you. And oh, and you don't want to ink the inside lines here too. So this line here and this line here, you don't want to ink because those will be covered in snow. Okay, so we're going to leave any of the horizontal lines off of the roof. The bottom one, that's okay to ink because there's gonna have to be a base to the roof. So that's okay, you can ink that one. And then the other lines are fine to ink. But this one right in here, I'm gonna zoom in, okay? This one on the inside is the one I wanna ink. I don't wanna ink this one on the outside. If I ink it, it's fine. But if you can avoid it, that would be even better. Okay, so I'm going to get all of these little lines inked. And then just go over it. You know, if you're not sure if you got a certain line, I got a little line on the outside, that's fine. Okay, and then I'm going to actually stamp off that main image. Just like that, okay? Now I'm gonna go over what I just did with 969. Okay, 969. And I'm gonna go over those lines that I just put on with 969, just gently. I don't want tons of ink on here, and you'll see I'm gonna stamp a lot of this off as well. So I'm just going to ink these. Once again, I'm avoiding that exterior line there because we want to make this so that the snow is just kind of hanging, or it's landed on top of the barn roof there. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this off now a couple of times because I want it pretty light. Okay, so now that's probably light enough. I'm going to give it just a little huff, and I'm going to stamp that down now. See how much lighter that is? It's a really subtle color, and you'll see that more when we start pulling out the ink on here. Okay, so I'm going to take my brush, and I'm going to begin to just pull some of these shadows out on this barn. Now, if you have not grabbed your brush in a little bit, make sure those bubbles, air bubbles, come out. And I just did. I just used it too dry. And that's what happens. It gets really, it kind of skips. The color doesn't distribute evenly, and then you've got these weird kind of skips in color. So I'm going to just now pull out some of this color in here, okay? I'm gonna move into here and put some shadows underneath the rooftops, okay? And this side is going to be darker because this is the shadow side. So anything that's facing that way is going to be dark. Anything that's facing this way is going to be mostly highlighted. So this wall, and this wall is going to be highlighted. And then this wall and this wall is going to actually have that darker shadow. Okay, so now we're going to create the snow by painting in the areas that are the negative space, essentially. So I'm going to take my palette, and I'm going to take number 565. So 565. And I'm going to take my brush and start putting in some of the space above the barn. So I want to leave a white area between the barn and the blue because that's what's going to be my snow. So I'm not painting in snow, I'm painting in the negative space. So this is going to kind of curve around, and then I'm going to go right up to the barn on this back side. So I'm painting in the negative space here. So everything but the snow, essentially, so that I create a very white contrast up in here. And I can go and bring in a darker line here so that you can see, if I zoom in, you can see I've left these white streaks, and actually that's where my snow is. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit more. I'm going to turn this just so I can get in here with my hand. And I'm going to bring in just a little bit darker area. Now, if I feel like I'm getting too, if I feel like nothing is blended in or it looks too, drastic, I can take my brush and just a little bit of water and just go back and forth over some of these lines. And that is going to just blend it all in into the background. So just a little bit of water. And you can see without painting the snow on, it looks snowy on that top. So snow has shadows still, so we're still gonna bring around, sorry, I need to have my palette back into the picture. I'm gonna bring around a shadow right in here, and I'm gonna just swing it right around onto the bottom of this. So I'm gonna bring this and then swing it around and kind of curve that shadow. And then this will be dark because it's going to be underneath the snow. So I can just bring that darkness in here. Same thing here. So I want this to kind of curve around. And you could certainly leave these little details off of the rooftop as well if you want to. You don't have to. And then here it's going to be dark. And then I can come back in and just add in a little bit more shadow here. And come right under there. Now I do feel like these shadows are a little bit intense, so I'm just gonna bring my water and blend them out a little bit. That's kind of the nice thing, is you can just come in with your water because they're water-based and come in and just soften some of these areas. Okay. Now I want to have a little bit of a background here. Hi everybody, if you're just joining, I can't really see comments well, so I apologize if I'm not answering your questions. I will have that fixed for next time, but I was using a computer instead of an iPad and it would not load. So that's my fault, and I will definitely have that fixed for next time. I'm sorry, but I have asked for those that kind of understand a little bit about Art Impressions watercolor. If you see a question that I'm not getting to, if you could just either, flag me down, ask it several times in the comments, or try to answer it, that would be so awesome. Okay, now I'm going to take that 565 and just put a little bit more shadow in here because I want that to be nice and dark. Now I'm going to take and put into my windows some of this color. And this is that 565, so I've really only used that color. So we're keeping a very, very simple color scheme here. Okay, we'll zoom out just a little bit. And maybe we want a little trail here, and we can do that with our snow. Okay, this is a very, very simple project. When you think about, all you need to do is really just focus on the background, the negative area for your barn. It's really, really straightforward. You don't have to overthink this. And I'm just putting a little bit more into the snow there. Now let's darken up the windows. And I'm going to take that same color, that 565, and I'm going to darken the windows. Now, if you get a little fuzz on there, just leave it until it's dry. Don't try to get that off. Okay, now I'm going to go back in with my Tombow twin tone here. Thank you, Sherry. Sherry says she loves it. Thank you so much. I hope that you try it. Okay, I'm going to go back in with my twin tone and just put in some darker areas in here. And this is going to really darken up the inside of this barn. You can even come in and put some darker contrast into underneath the eaves here as well. Okay, so that's pretty much snow. Do we have any questions on this one? This is really, really simple. Make sure you sign it, of course. But this is snow. So if you were going to do like Christmas cards later, obviously we're not even close to Christmas, but a lot of people start cards super early, 6 months early in July. So if you wanted to do a snowy Christmas theme, you could totally do that. I love this, and I love this barn. I feel like it's so versatile, especially when you think about being able to do any season, right? So we've got winter here, and now we're gonna do maybe a spring or a summer, okay? So let's see, Barbara, love this, need to get the barn. The barn is so fun. And you know what, you can do this with any of the structures, really. If you just think about the top of the roof, being left off if you don't ink the top of the roof, because you can see now next to each other, you can see why the top of the roof has to be left off, right? Because that snow just kind of blankets over the top. Oh yes, Catherine, absolutely. A little touch of glitter. You know, you could use the Wink of Stella. We used to use that a ton at the shows. It's really hard to see on camera, so we don't use it as much on camera. But if you get the Wink of Stella and you just put it on the snow, it's just absolutely beautiful. I love that. So yes, 100% try that. Okay, now I am going to show you how to do this little spring or summer one, okay? So we'll get another piece of watercolor paper, and I'm going to take that, let's zoom out just a little bit more here. And I'm going to take that same barn, and I think most of the ink is probably off of it just because we stamped it off so many times. So I'm just gonna get most of the ink off here. And I'm going to take number 565. We're gonna do that mix again. So we'll do 565 and 969. This time we'll ink the whole thing. 565 and 969. Okay. Get that on there, and then we'll go straight on with the 969. Kendra, do you put that Wink of Stella after it's completely dry? So Sherry, I would do the Wink of Stella. You can do it when it's wet or dry. It's either, because it's a water-based glitter. And so you could, if you want it to be more thoroughly dispersed, you could put it on when it's wet, because the water will kind of carry the glitter out. It'll kind of distribute. It'll distribute the glitter from the most concentrated area. So it'll diffuse out if you do it on when it's wet. And you can also do it when it's dry. And but keep in mind, because it is water-based, it will move your colors, existing colors that you have on your project. I hope that makes sense. Maybe I need to do like another tutorial using the Wink of Stella, because it's so fun. I don't know if I can get it to show up on camera, but maybe I can figure that out. Okay, so I'm gonna get this little guy stamped in. You can see it's a little bit darker than the last one, but I did stamp off twice because these colors, the 969 paired with the 565, it's really intense color. So I do still like to stamp off. Okay, now I'm gonna come in with my brush, and we're just gonna start bringing out some of the shadows in here just to give us sort of a baseline to work with. We know that this side over here is going to be shadowed in, so I can just immediately put that in right away, because I know that this is going to be dark. I know that there's going to be shadows underneath each roof overhang. So all of these little roof overhangs, that's going to have a shadow. Okay. And I'll just bring a little bit more of this out. I like to bring some out into the center. You don't have to, it's really up to you. I just think it looks kind of nice. Okay. Now we can go in, and I have made a little mask. So, well, first we should do our rooftop. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I've made a little mask just like this. And if you're following along with me, you could make a little mask. I just used a little Post-it note. I made a little mask like this so that I could put the trees behind. But let's do the roof first. So if you're following along, you could quickly make your little mask, okay? So we're gonna take our palette again, and we're gonna do 969. And this has actually still a lot of blue on it. So I'm gonna go like that. And I'm gonna make a new 969 because this one had quite a bit of blue, which is fine if you want more of a gray. Okay, so 969, I'm going to take that and I'm just going to begin to paint into these little rooftop panels. Now, I do not want to drag my brush through all of the panels here. This is going to be very, very soft, and it's going to be partitioned off. So you're not going to drag it through. You're just going to go section by section. And then we can bring a little bit of this over here, and actually this is going to be dark on that side. Did I miss a question? Oh, pretty, love the old barns. Thank you, Kylie. Yeah, these are really fun. Okay, so I'll take a little bit more of that 969 and I will just put in one more little wash through here, section by section. I don't need this to be really dark. It's just giving the suggestion that these rooftops are brown. That's really it. Okay, so don't forget this one down here. I tend to do that. I tend to forget these little guys. Don't neglect them. They need some love too. So we'll put in those little rooftops too. All right. So now we can either put in our windows or put in our trees. So since we're here and we're using the palette, we might as well just put our little windows in here, and then we can pretty much be done with the barn itself. So 565, and I'm just putting in the 565 just like I did before. You could also do yellow if you wanted the lights to be on in here. That would be really cute. But we tend to kind of stick with that blue to make it look dark inside, like an old rustic barn. Okay. Maybe just a little more shadow in here. You know, you can always darken up a shadow by adding some of that 565. It brings out more of the gray, but it definitely darkens things up just a little bit more, okay? Okay, now we can get on with our trees and putting in the background. Okay, so I'm going to take, do I have any questions? Not yet. So I'm going to take my little masking paper and put that right over my barn. Now, having stamped for a long time, I know that these little windows are now dry. Okay, so I know that, but it's always a good idea to just make sure that that's dry before you put on your masking paper. Okay, so I'm going to put on my masking paper, and I want to make sure it's nice and flush with the design. Okay, and hi Sandy, welcome. And I'm going to take the little tree that comes with it and ink the bottom trunk with 969. Okay, 969, and I'm going to take that tree trunk and just ink it up into here, and then the rest of this is going to be inked with 177 or 249 or whatever green that you have, but this top part is going to be inked with the green. And I don't want this whole tree, it's pretty big. Yeah, why not? I like kind of mid-sized trees, and I didn't use the whole tree on the other one, but it's a really nice big tree. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to stamp it right there. Okay, so actually it's, when I take this off, it's actually behind the barn, just like that. Okay, and then for this side, maybe I want my tree to come out a little bit further. Maybe I want to see some of this trunk. I can do that. And I'm going to just stamp off. I don't want this whole tree on the other side, just because it's going to go so far over that I don't want it to take away from the image. So I'm actually not going to stamp this part as much as I can. I mean, I might get some of it, and that's okay. There's always a leaf for that, you know, or like a little cluster of leaves. Okay, once again, we will go on to the trunk with the 969. And then on the top, we'll do the 177. And again, I'm not gonna do this whole tree. I'm just gonna do some. Okay, now maybe I'll do, I don't want it to stamp too far. What do I want to do here, you guys? Let's see. I should do what I did. Okay. It really depends on how you want. So if I didn't have a masking paper here and I stamped, so if this were folded over and I stamped this back and the trunk was in the front and further down than the barn, then it would have had to be in front of the barn and all the trunk and the branches and everything come in front of the barn. Now you really have to think about this when you're stamping with masking paper, because when you use a masking paper, it's meant to be behind whatever you're masking. So if you stamp with a masking paper, and maybe I could show you this because this is a really important thing to kind of learn, is when you're stamping with a masking paper and you stamp too far down, you're gonna get some, so if I have this and maybe for some of you, you're like, oh, I would never do that, but maybe for others of you, you wouldn't have thought about it. So I wanna show you, when you're stamping with a masking paper, it's meant to be behind the image, right? So when you stamp, and say we have this tree here, okay, we have, let me just put this in just for continuity's sake. If I stamp this in like this, I'm gonna get some of that tree trunk forward, right? So you wanna be really careful where you're stamping it and how much you've inked. Okay, otherwise, if you want it in the front, you can do that, but you don't want to use a masking paper then. You want to just stamp it in the front because everything is going to be in front of the barn. So if you stamp it like this, that's actually in front of the barn, right? So you want to be really careful how you mask. Okay. So I always have to just take a minute or two and be like, okay, where is my stamp going? Because if I stamp it too far down, then I all of a sudden have a little, trunk in the front yard that's a cut off tree or something. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and take our, no problem, Pam, absolutely. And if you want to be really, really, detailed about how you stamp these, you can always use the positioner. Always. You can always stamp the tree onto your positioner, and you can use that to decide where you want to put your tree. I will generally only use this if I absolutely need it, if I want it to be super precise. And generally speaking, for me, trees can be just kind of as they are, but I do want to make sure that I position them in a way that would be natural, okay? So we're going to take number 177, and I'm just going to ink that little stamp and just do a little bit of it. You don't need the whole thing. And I'm going to just come in here and put these in. Stamping in a repeat, you want to stamp 5 times or more, right? To get that dark and light variation. And I'm just going to focus on the tops of these branches mostly. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want to get mostly in the top. Now, keep in mind, and you can see I did get a little bit on my barn, but this tree is well behind the barn. So you don't want to get green on your barn. And if you do, it's fine, but just, you can take your brush and just kind of blend it out a little bit, okay? So do the same thing on the other side. And I'm going to use the same 177. You could use the 249, which would be really pretty if you wanted a different color tree. Maybe you wanted 249 and 177, which I do a lot in my trees. I'll have both colors because I think it looks really nice. It's up to you. I'm just going to use 177 for right now. Now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to dab all around these branches, making sure that I don't touch my barn because these are set well in the back. These are not directly over the barn. So I'm going to just dab and come right in here. Dab, 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 dab. And I want to take a little bit of that water and just pull this out just a touch, the green by itself. And look how big and beautiful and thick and full this tree is. Take my brush and just pull down the trunk here. And keep in mind, this tree comes with the barn set. It's in the set. So for this one, you would just need, if you wanted to make this exact project, you would just need the barn set and the foliage set 1, which probably most of you have. Okay. And we'll just blend these out. Make sure you leave a white space, right? I know some of you probably dream about white space because I say it all the time, but it's so important. If you fill in all the areas, you will feel like it's super flat, and you'll be right. It will look very, very flat if you fill in all the areas. So you definitely want to make sure that you're leaving a lot of white space in here, okay? So now I'm gonna take my little teeny tiny grass and we'll put some grass into the front. I'll use the same 177 and we're gonna walk out this grass just a bit. Same thing here. And I'm just inking and stamping several times, and that's how I'm getting that dark and light variation here. Okay, we'll take our brush and begin to pull these out. Just like this, just pull out the colors. You know, I can also take some of this green and just pull it down like this, and so we kind of make a little pathway here. Just like that. And then we'll take 526 and we'll put in a little sky. So 526 on our palette, 526. We'll put that on our palette. And we'll put in a little sky, and I'll just put it right next to the tree here, maybe a little bit in between the trunk, tiny bit just on top, and maybe some down in here. And I'm just going to blend out that blue quite a bit. So I'm just going to take water and just blend out this blue. Just ever so slightly, so that it just blends into the background. And then the background is not a harsh blue, it's a really soft, light blue, and it just adds to the composition. So we don't want it to be super, you know, in your face, bright blue. We want it to kind of be hazed out into the background. So I'll take a little bit more of that 565 and just darken up some of these. I'm gonna take my twin tone, my brown twin tone, this little guy, and I'll use the fine tip and pull some of the contrast, or add some contrast in here wherever I want to. So maybe in this little broken roof here, maybe under here I can. Maybe I lost some of the details in the trunk, the tree trunk, and I want to put that in. I can use this pen for that. It's so nice for these little details here. And then I can go in with my blue and put a little bit of color into the windows, just like we did with the snowy window. Okay, and then we always want to, once again, sign our work. Okay, practice, practice, that is right. Oh, that's so nice, Darylyn. You make it look effortless. Oh, thank you. Absolutely keep practicing. Honestly, that's the biggest part of this. If you can practice and get comfortable with the products, your natural artist will come out and it's gonna look different than other people. I mean, you think about artists right now and they're so different. There's no two artists that are the same. So, you know, really hone in on what type of a creative mind you have and what type of an artist you are. And that's really what you want to focus on. You don't want to focus on, I want to be exactly like this person, or I want mine to be, you know, exactly like Ruth Ann, who's amazing. Ruth Ann is her own artist, right? Like Ruth Ann has learned so many amazing skills on her own, and then she's come here and learned, hopefully, Ruth Ann, some little art impressions techniques here. But those things allow her to be the artist that she is. And so I hope that you do the same and take some of these tips and tricks and use them to kind of bring out your inner artist. So I am going to switch the camera back around and I will say a quick goodbye. So I'll be right there. Let's see, we'll do a switcheroo. And hello. Hi, everyone. Yes, Georgia, she is. Georgia's also amazing. Okay, and so is Diane, and so is Sandy, and so is Carolyn, and so are all these other Tony, amazing people on the Art Impression Stamp group. You should come over there and see. There's tons of inspiration, and you will absolutely be inspired. I feel like my little camera stand is kind of odd right now, but that's okay. I've had a lot of things that were like kind of like weird during this Back to Basics, but I hope that you enjoyed it anyway. And I am going to say goodbye to you, and I hope you all have a really great, oh shoot, next week we're going to be doing the bike set. So I forget what number that is, darn. What number are the bikes? I should have had it out for you. The bike sets we are going to do, so look on the website, find the bike set, that's the one we're going to do. And if you can't get enough art impressions, tomorrow morning you're going to be on with my mama, and she's going to be doing Wednesday live, so Watercolor Wednesday with her at 10 a.m. tomorrow. You're in for a big treat. It's amazing, so absolutely tune in if you can. If you can't, there will be a replay. As always, we post to the Facebook timeline, and of course follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. On the YouTube channel, it does take a couple days to get it uploaded, but the quality is in HD, so if you really want to see really high quality videos, then definitely check out the YouTube in a couple of days. And check us out on Pinterest. Make sure that you share, that you like, that you comment, and so that we know you're here and we know that you like what you're seeing, so that we can be like, okay, they like this, let's do more of this. So that it's your way of sending us a message, and that kind of lets us know that we're on the right track and we're doing things that you like, okay? So we love you all. Have a great rest of your week. God bless you, and big hugs. Mwah. Bye.